Alright, so this virtual machine is installed and it's waiting for reboot, so I'll just press a reboot here and see what happens now. It's rebooting. Okay, never mind. Virtual machine, once you get this, it normally doesn't start automatically, so press run and it shows up here. Okay, booting up. Once we'll be done with this installation of this node, I'm going to explain to you the network architecture. Okay, first of all, notice it's CentOS 5.4, kernel 2.6.18 dot whatever Zen. So this is kernel Zen. That is what I have been explaining. On x86-64 architecture, it has picked up automatically. Other interesting things are, now this is console. What you can also do is find out its IP from here, and there's another method as well, I'll show you later. It's 119. So what you can do is you can minimize this, start an terminal and SSH to 192.168.122.119 if I'm correct. Yes, Red Hat, and there you go. Now you are also logged into the same machine through your normal SSH, so you don't need console anymore, this one. So I can just close this console, and I have this machine here running on Virtual Machine Manager's main window. By closing console doesn't mean that you shut down the machine, of course. And you see it's using very minimal CPU at the moment. Okay, so what is the interesting stuff? Let's say proc/CPU info. First thing is same processor which was available to, or which is available to my physical host, is available to the virtual machine. And if you don't believe me, you see this, I'm on the physical host. So I do cat/proc CPU info. Here you go. So the first benefit you get out of Zen Para-Virtualization is that you get the same hardware which your physical host contains, or which your physical host is providing, and that's the best part of it. Now the memory is of course the chunk of memory allotted to this virtual machine. Mem info is this 512 MB of RAM, and about 415 is free. Oh, this is lovely. You see that here there's a command name free minus I don't remember, 414 megabyte is free right now. Only 109 MB is used. Okay, so that answers the questions of what the processor is, and similarly the other hardware. I would use LSPCI. Why so less? Oh, doesn't show here. Okay, never mind. What else? Dmessage, and I look at the Ethernet here. What is the Ethernet driver here? Come on, where is that? the message by to grep minus Ethernet. Okay, virtual Ethernet driver. Okay, so we've got a virtual machine, it's working, and it's got an IP on its Ethernet 0 here, and this is its IP. Now let's talk about some of the networking concepts now. As you can see, this one is a virtual bridge. This is private to this this physical host storage. SU minus. Okay. ifconfig. I want to show you ifconfig, and it's a long list, so I'll say ifconfig minus less. Great. First thing is that what Zen does is it renames your Ethernet 0 on the physical host to PETH0 or physical Ethernet 0, which doesn't have any hardware address. In fact, all F's except for this one, this is FE, and its explanation will follow soon. Then we have this virtual IF0.0, virtual IF4.0, this thing, virtual bridge, Zen bridge. You see 192.168.122 is not mentioned here, is not mentioned here in virtual bridge 0, is not mentioned here, is not mentioned here, is not mentioned here. It's not mentioned anywhere on the physical host. However, when you go to your virtual machine, you see this IP here, and not only you see your IP here, you're also able to ping 168.122.1 pinging, and you're also connected to the rest of the network, which is like, say, oh, DIG is not available. Okay, and let's look up. Since I installed only the core utilities, it's not installed. By the way, let's check the disk size. Only 700 mega is utilized. Okay, so my emphasis right now is on making you understand the network model, how this Zen creates all these different interfaces and how it interacts with the virtual machines. Okay, so this, I'm going to explain this now and this. So I'll open another terminal here. I don't need this test, so I'll just move it here like this. Okay, I go to this physical host SU minus and type in the password. Come on. Okay, and here I'll show you a command named virtual shell list. It will show you the machines which are currently running. If you provide this minus all, you will get the list of all machines, either they're shut down or running. Idle means running but not currently running any process, so that's why it's showing here idle. So test VM1 is idle, but it's not shut down. That means it's running. Notice this 0, domain 0 running. This ID is assigned to all of the domains randomly except for domain 0, which always gets the ID of 0. Rest all of the domains, they will get a random ID, whatever Zen decides, and will be assigned. Now this ID has some importance. If I come back to my physical host, I see this virtual interface 0.0. This is read as virtual interface for domain ID 0 and then interface number 0 on that virtual machine. So this will be translated as virtual interface on domain 0, virtual interface on domain 0's first network card. Since my physical host is itself domain 0, so that means that there is a so-called virtual imaginary cable, patch cable, network cable running from here to here. It is 0. This is device 0 on domain 0 because I'm on domain I'm on physical host, which is domain 0, and that has this IP here. Now let me show you one more thing, again more explanation. Virtual interface 4.0. This means that this section is belongs to, or this is the end of a imaginary virtual patch cable, network cable. One end is virtual interface of domain 4 connecting to first network card on this domain 4. So it is read as virtual interface of domain 4's Ethernet 0. Okay, that means there's a patch cable running from here. You don't see its IP here. There's a patch cable running from here to, and I'm going to click this test virtual machines console. There's a patch cable running from here to here, this place, this interface. Alright, this is a bit confusing in the beginning. It will make sense slowly. So each interface on each virtual machine has a connection on the physical host and shows up here, somewhere here, as VIF, virtual interface. Okay, and it's connected like that. Okay, now I'm going to provide you with the detail of how this networking is configured, and I'll also explain what is this PETH0. What is this PETH0? So I will need to open a couple of files, and I'll need to, since I'm done with the virtual console, so I can move it to a more convenient location here. Okay, file manager, and how does Zen training, let's open this one, see if it helps. I need to go to a diagram for networking, and if it's not here, Zen setup, I don't have this. Okay, this is the networking now, network modes, bridge mode, routing mode. Okay, NAT mode. I need to have a diagram which is probably on Zen Wiki, if if I remember correctly. So what I'll do is I'll open this Zen Networking, and to be quick, let's see if I have it here. Okay, I have it in my own document as well, which I showed you earlier how this is done. This is explained here as well, I explained earlier. Okay, so I better explain it with the help of this website. It's an excellent resource on Zen Networking. Increase the font size. Okay. Alright, so let's try to cover this. Yes. Okay. So this is your physical host. In blue color, this is your physical host, Zen, or the Zen hypervisor. And of course it's running on a hardware, so we have this domain 0, ETH0, if assuming one card. Assuming two cards, you will have ETH0 and ETH1, and each virtual interface will be connected to a virtual network connection on the domain 0. The thing which I want to show you exactly is here. You see, this is domain 1, like test domain here. This is domain. This is in reality this is domain 4 right now on my physical host, this virtual machine. But anyway, for the sake of example, this is my domain, and not this one. Close this. This is its Ethernet 0. So it is connected to domain 0. This interface, virtual interface 1.0. If I have domain 2, it is connected. Its Ethernet interface is connected to virtual interface 2.0, indicating this is a virtual interface for second domain number 2, first interface, like this one. And this VIF2 2.0, this interface exists in domain 0, main domain 0. Okay, so what are the steps which are performed here? This is bridging. I need to have virtual network. Okay, this is virtual network, but doesn't show my bridge. I need to see physical Ethernet. Okay, so I'll just open up another link. Yes, this one, and this explains what steps are performed. This is by this UT Lemming. This is exactly how Zen scripts work, and let me explain this to you. I have to read it as well, means read it out to you. Whenever Zen networking, virtual machine is brought up, then this is executed. The following occurs. The following outline what happens when default Zen networking script runs on single NIC system, which is exactly our case here. This is our Zen system, storage, as you can see here, storage. And this is a single NIC system, indicated by this PETH0, only one occurrence of this kind of item. So what happens? Number one, script creates a new bridge named Zen bridge 0. Okay, for us we can take it as virtual bridge 0. Then real Ethernet interface Ethernet 0 is brought down. Which one? The real ETH 0. Just before the Zen networking was turned up, the real ETH 0 is brought down. The IP and MAC addresses of this Ethernet 0 are copied to a virtual network interface WBITT 0. Okay, then the real interface ETH 0 is renamed physical Ethernet 0. That is exactly what you see here on storage, which is my physical host. You see PETH 0, and you don't see any IP on this one. No IPs here. So this is the actual network card, or the port on the network card, which is physically connected from this machine to my physical network switch here in my home. This is that port. In traditional Linux setups, this would be simply ETH 0, but on Zen this is PETH 0, physical Ethernet 0. Okay, what else? Then the virtual interface WBITT 0 is renamed ETH 0. So the IP and MAC addresses of Ethernet 0 were copied to WBITT 0, and then WBITT 0 is then renamed to ETH 0. That is what you see here. So let me explain. This ETH 0 you see here on my physical host domain 0, this has the MAC address and IP actually obtained from physical real ETH 0 earlier, just before Zen networking was brought up by the startup scripts. This is very important to understand. That's why I'm repeating it again and again. So this is what you see here is this, as ETH 0 was WBITT 0 before that it was actually PETH 0. So physical interface is now renamed as, with this MAC address, renamed as PETH 0 with this MAC address with no IP address. And the ETH 0 assigned to domain 0, it's just a virtual Ethernet 0, is now having those two values obtained from the physical Ethernet 0. Now this whole thing, what this whole thing means? This whole thing means that now this is just a connection, a cable connection from your physical computer to physical network switch, physical network switch or hub, whatever you have. And this is a virtual network on your domain 0, just similar, exactly the same as you have a virtual network card on a virtual machine here, because both are virtual machines in the first place. Remember, I told you earlier. Ignore this one at the moment, or maybe I can just simply if down ETH 0 : 0. Okay, so ignore that. Okay, because that was something else, that not related to Zen. So I hope you got that right. So physical Ethernet 0 is now your cable connection, and this cable connection is not only connecting to your external network switch. There is a cable connection going from this device, virtual cable connection going from this device to your internal virtual switch. That's how this is connected to ETH 0 here, a virtual network. And in fact, this is not directly connected to this one. In fact, PETH 0 goes and gets connected to, let me show you. PETH 0 gets connected to Virtual Bridge 0 and Zen Bridge 0. Okay, so PETH connects to Zen Bridge 0 and and Virtual Bridge 0. Then your network interfaces, either this one or any other, will get connected to respective switches, either here or here. Now this one, the ETH0 on domain 0, has this IP. Okay, that means this is connected to your external network, physical network, through Zen bridge. Whereas these two are connected, at least this one is connected to your virtual bridge with this IP here. Okay, so let's read more. Virtual interface vEthernet is renamed Ethernet 0. Then PETH0 and VIF0.0 are attached to bridge Zen bridge. Fine, that's what I explained earlier. Physical Ethernet and virtual interface 0.0 both are attached to Zen bridge 0. If I explain again here, physical Ethernet 0 and VIF 0.0, which connects to Ethernet on the top, which is gone by the screen. These two are connected to Zen bridge 0. The bridge physical Ethernet 0, Ethernet 0 and virtual interface 0.0 are brought up, and that is why you see your machine, this physical host, connected to the network just like it was before installing Zen, or before turning up the Zen network service, not Zen network service, before starting the Zen D service or the libvirtual-D service. Note, there are a few more things. The physical Ethernet X is physical device, but it has no MAC or IP address in it. That's what we have seen here. Go up, physical Ethernet, your actual network card. Now it doesn't have any IP and no network, no MAC address. Zen bridge 0 is the bridge between internal Zen virtual network and the outside network. It also doesn't have any MAC or IP address. vETH-X or vETH0 is unusable endpoint by either domain 0 or domain U. May or may not have an IP address. And this is what we see here. We don't see vETH. Okay, we don't see vETH because vETH was renamed to ETH. Then hold on. Oh, just a slight interruption. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have pause facility in this software. Okay, so vEthernet X is unusable. Yes, that's what we have seen here, because vEthernet 0 was renamed to Ethernet 0. Remember here. Okay, then VIF X.X is a floating endpoint for vEthernet 0 that is connected to the bridge. That is what I've shown you here, that VIF 4.0, for example, is connected to domain 4 and Ethernet 0 of domain 4, to be precise. It also doesn't have any MAC address or IP address here at this end, because this is just an endpoint for a virtual cable. Then Ethernet 0 or Ethernet X is renamed vETH-X, that is connected to Zen bridge 0 via virtual interface this X.X, and has an IP and MAC address. Okay, no, it's not renamed to, sorry, that's what I was confusing. Ethernet 0 is a renamed vETH-X, and that is exactly what is here. vETH was renamed as Ethernet 0. And that is about all of, not all, but major of the networking concepts in Zen. There's a lot more of explanation in different documents which I've mentioned in my document here, so I've kind of included parts from here and here and there, etc. Okay, so this is one of the explanations, that physical Ethernet 0 gives its MAC address to the previously known VETH0 and now renamed as ETH0, and it has an interface here VIF 0.0 indicating that this is an endpoint for domain 0's first network card or first network interface, and that is for domain 0. You see this boundary here, this big boundary, this is domain 0. Then you also have this virtual interface 1.0 connecting to domain 1, indicating that this is an endpoint for domain 1's first network card. Okay, so physical Ethernet is your card which is further connected to the network switch. This may sound confusing. Maybe I have not explained it very clearly. It's because maybe I did not prepare well the script for this whole training. I just started off. All of a sudden there is no written script for it, so whatever I remember or I recall, I have to cover that. Maybe I'm just including that on the fly, and that may be a bit confusing. However, I would recommend you to go through the links mentioned in the document I have mentioned here, or you can just directly go to the Zen source, Zen Wiki, Zen Networking. This is the main title of the topic, and you can also look for this title and read this in its entirety. Very, very helpful. Very helpful. This is one of the excellent documents on Zen Networking on Zen website. Must read it. That it shows how different interfaces are connected to each other, how different domains interact with each other, etc. What's the meaning of this MAC address? You see this x.y here and all xxx. This is exactly what you see here. X and all the xxx. F is used here, and this is a different character E, which is depicted as Y here. So X can be any hexadecimal where Y can either be 2, 6, A or E, and we see E here. An explanation is available here. Then we have bridging explained here with diagram, and we also have virtual network here. Diagram is not fitting here, that's why I skipped it. This is your ETH0 and various. This is Zen bridge connecting to other domains. May sound confusing, but you've got to read it as well a bit. Of course, this video cannot suffice for study. You've got to go through other study material as well. This is just an introduction to Zen and its virtualization technology, virtualization techniques. Right. So this was, if we summarize, this was quite interesting. We created a virtual machine as para-virtual machine. It's running here. This is the interface. It's fully functional service, whatever. Fully functional web server, fully functional virtual server, whatever you want to run on it, you can just configure just like a normal PC, just like a normal server. Configure whatever service you want, whatever firewall you want. It works perfectly. It has no problem whatsoever. Right, so we'll meet in the next videos with more topics. I want to show you how a virtual fully hardware assisted full virtualization machine, how is it created, and what's the difference you see. That will be covered in the next video. So see you later.